Hi, good afternoon. This is
Guys,
Cannabis
I'll jump
101.
right in and host.
I know. I thought Steve was all. I watched his face. I thought he was
You thought I
thinking
was
away.
going in?
This is Cannabis of Worcester, and we are on 97.9 FM presenting Cannabis 101. I guess presented by Cannabis of Worcester. I'm a little flustered.
Yeah,
we have
are.
a special guest today, and
He's got us flustered
he's
already.
got us flustered. Steve had me
Fluster
flustered
is my middle name.
with his flusteredness, but so we'll try this again. You're listening to Cannabis 101, presented by Cannabis of Worcester, located at 56 Millbrook Street, Worcester, Mass. And this is 97.9. Steve,
It's a great start. Great
Steve.
start. I love it.
Oh, so
it's better than usual.
Steve, I don't want to ruin the fun. I know who you are, but I want to make sure we get everything right.
Yeah,
Explain to
absolutely.
viewers we got a special guest today.
Very special guest. Somebody that some people out there may know, depending
Absolutely.
on what kind of circles we travel in. For me personally, it was back in Portland, Maine in the 80s and early 90s on WGME TV,
Oh my God.
which was a CBS affiliate for news.
Wow.
And the sports anchor and correspondent, and you kind of were jack of all trades, was Mr. Jimmy Young himself. So when I met Jimmy last week,
Yeah.
that's what I went to. I went to as a boy watching the sportscasts and watching Jimmy interview guys like
At least you were born.
yeah.
I go to these weed shows and I'm the oldest guy in the whole freaking
Yeah,
room.
they don't
Yeah.
know, yeah.
So welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, guys. I'm thrilled. First of all, I don't think I've ever been on an over-the-air radio
Yes.
Yeah, live radio. Yeah,
Right.
radio. Yeah.
to talk about cannabis,
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
which is unbelievable. The fact that I've lived to see this day, that we can actually talk about it, a legal plant medicine,
Yeah.
Right.
is unbelievable to me. I heard the president of the United States say, and the vice president say the same thing. I don't want to get into politics, but I heard them use the word marijuana.
Yeah.
Okay,
I did too. At the
Kamala
DNC.
was Kamala was
said it.
cool. She said no one should be in jail for smoking weed.
Right. Although she put half those people there, but we'll
Hey.
get beyond. Yes.
Hang on a second. I want to talk about the media because
Yeah.
that's important. Okay,
Yeah.
48 people. That's the number she put away. 48.
Is that what it is?
Yes, that's not a lot of people.
That's
In a
next to
state like
nothing, people.
California.
Yeah.
Right, and
Well,
I'm not here
especially
to
big
apologize.
cannabis.
Okay, I
Well,
don't want to
there's
get
no
into politics.
apologies. We don't even want to talk politics.
Well, I put her on my thumbnail this past week on my news show, and I got to tell you, the comments that are in that comment room on our YouTube
really?
channel, yeah, it's it. You know what, guys? We're in a state that's not like the rest of the United States. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not. We have an intelligent citizen group. We have
Yeah.
the best hospitals. We have the most more colleges in the Boston area than any other place in
Oh,
America.
that's a fact.
Yeah.
right?
Worcester alone's
And Worcester's got a million,
Unbelievable.
right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to explain to people about Worcester. It is the
Yeah.
second largest city in New
Mass-
England.
Yeah,
New
in
England.
New England.
You're right. In
Bigger
all of
than
New
Hartford.
England.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is
Bigger than Hartford.
Yeah.
You know,
So
so
first class medical facilities and all the colleges in the city of Worcester alone.
that's right.
They're just unbelievable.
And my surgeon, Dr. David Ayers, runs the orthopedics department at UMass Memorial. I had my hip replaced there, which is not like the one I had replaced at Newton Wellesley 14 years ago. And I've had a few surgeries, guys. I swear I was an athlete once. That's why I love sports.
Because you
I love
played
sports.
back in the day. So Jimmy's
love
here
it.
today for and Jimmy may end up being a recurring guest because I feel like
yeah, Jimmy's
an
got
hour
the
is going to
juice.
be
Yeah.
go really quick here today.
Yeah,
Because I don't even know which road to travel. But since we are Cannabis 101, I think it makes most sense to have a conversation about, so we have a dispensary here in the city of Worcester.
I
Part
have
of why
visited your dispensary.
which
I
we
just want
appreciate.
you to know. Yeah.
We appreciate that, and that us doing the show is kind of to promote cannabis in the city, in our store specifically, and what we bring to the city. But we bring in guests all the time to talk about we had different companies, vendors, cultivators, even other dispensaries to kind of come and have an open conversation about cannabis. So what is it? Tell us what you're doing and what you've been doing in cannabis for a while.
Well, that's a long story because I've used it since I was 14 years old, and I'm going to be 67 on Tuesday. Okay.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the fact that I've lived this long is amazing because my life philosophy, guy, is as long as you live to tell the story, you got room for more.
Yeah.
Do you understand the concept
Yeah.
there, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And probably, thankfully my parents, not thankfully, but I'm not sure I'd be in cannabis if my folks were still alive. I'll be perfectly honest because I had that much respect for them. I wouldn't want to embarrass them for anything.
Right.
But once I got in, I've got in big time. I started with one podcast, In the Weeds with Jimmy Young, back in 2018.
Yeah.
And Stu Zakem was my first guest. Now, you guys have heard of the Zakem Bridge.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I walked down the aisle of Nican in March 18th, 2018, or March 20th, 2018, I get those all mixed up. And I saw the sign behind his booth. It said, MJBA, the voice of cannabis. And of course, I was there to look for a sponsor because I said, look, I'm starting a cannabis podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was. I was looking for my cassette recorder from the 80s so I could go down and do interviews, right?
Yeah.
And I walk up to the booth, I extend my hand. I said, I want to be the voice of cannabis. And he goes, well, you better go talk to that guy. So points me over to Stu, and I extend. I said, I'm Jimmy Young. I used to be a sports talk show host and Emmy Award-winning sportscaster in Boston. And he goes, well, I'm Stu Zakem. And I go, as in Lenny Zakem?
Right.
And he goes, he was my big brother. And I went, holy shit.
Nope.
I can't do that. I'm on radio.
That's right.
Oh, my God. Do you have a 10-second delay?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
now
sorry
now we
about
do.
Quasi-
Yeah, now. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Oops. You guys should have given me the, you're live on the, but you
Listen,
did say over the air, so I should have known.
I usually give.
I know.
We
Steve,
usually give
and
the prep
Steve
talk
usually cringes
before.
before it comes up. Steve's a dead guy. He was stone cold.
Good. By the way, that was exactly what I said.
Yeah.
So it was
exactly.
an accurate quote. It
Yeah.
wasn't like I was embellishing or
No,
anything.
yeah, totally.
All right?
Factual
And what he
information.
didn't know, and he does now, is I left my full-time sportscast career at NECN to go work with Lenny.
Oh, how ironic is
That's
that?
why I left sportscasting, is I just felt like scores and highlights just weren't doing it for me anymore.
Yeah.
And when Fox came into the network, into the market, and their news style was different than mine and others at NECN, I might add.
Yeah.
I knew that the writing was on the wall, and I said, this is not where I want to tell stories with audio and video. I love going out and doing stories.
Yeah.
By the way, a movie is a story, right? So, but in that case, I said, I have more to add to the world. That's really what it was than just doing scores and highlights. And Lenny Zakem was the closest thing to a human prophet that I've ever met in my life. He taught me so much about respect, embracing the differences, the importance of diversity. He was the Anti-Defamation League executive director for 25 years in the Northeast, which is why Cardinal Bernard Law got the bridge named after him, because he bridged different races, different religions. And that's the story of the Zakem Bridge.
That's. I feel like I'm having another moment, like Mario. Like
You're
putting the piece. I've seen it. I've driven it. I've lived it. I've heard it. I know all the plays, but I've never put it together.
And I got guys. He died of bone cancer. He died of bone cancer, and it was either 99 or 2000. I was at the funeral, and I never met Stu until that very moment. And now he and I are really good friends. He's in New York. He's one of the biggest PR guys in cannabis in New York. I mean, he goes on CNBC and MSNBC as a pro-cannabis person and talks with, and he's just a really, really nice guy. And it's funny. And I think I can't swear, but I can talk about the Summit Lounge, right?
You can talk about your smoking. You can talk about
I just want to make
all
sure,
that.
because he and I got so high one night.
There you go. Yeah, yes.
We both looked at each other and said, I'm really high. He goes, yeah, so am I. Okay. Guess what? We made it home to live to tell the story.
Yeah.
Didn't get, but not, by the way, we can get into some serious issues here. Driving under the influence of cannabis is not driving while impaired. It can be a hyper focus tool for drivers like me. I never take my eyes off the road ever. And I don't like distractions, because those are the biggest cause of accidents. Not alcohol, not cannabis or
cell phones,
opioids.
eating, putting your makeup on.
Correct. It's distractions.
Yeah.
And that comes from a lot of law enforcement people I know too.
Yeah.
But, it's a challenge for the law enforcement. I get it. But when we deal with all the politicians and all the issues now, nobody understands what this plant does for people.
Well, and we talk about that all the time. I think a lot of people that come in here, and I think some of the best segments we've had has been with people who want to get into the explanation of like the science of it versus just the, let's go out and get high. Because it's still that stoner stigma with a lot of people.
with most people. Okay.
But most people outside the community, because
100%.
all the people inside, as Steve said, we've had some guests as you're getting there that are so intellectually on point with what the product, what the flower truly does for you
Well,
medically.
they talk about the
physically.
ECS, the endocannabinoid
all
system
the
in every
oh my
mammal, right?
gosh,
And how
everything.
everybody's metabolism is different and how the terpenes steer the plant's genetics.
Yeah.
It's been six or 700 interviews later, guys. I've got a lot of information in my brain, and that's kind of scary.
I
But
love it.
I want to get back to one thing you said. What you guys are doing is a step towards normalization, acceptance of the industry and the plant as a medicine. Now, I don't like the word recreational.
Yeah.
I don't take Robitussin recreationally, and it can get you really high.
Yeah.
And it's an adult over 21 product
Yeah.
now, isn't it?
You need an ID, kept
Correct, yeah.
absolutely
Correct.
fact,
So
yeah.
it's in that, and they're talking about rescheduling and the delay now, which was predicted by Morgan Fox from Normal on I interviewed him 3 weeks ago, and he said, "Oh no, there's going to be an administrative hearing." So I mean, he knew, and everybody's like freaking.
Right.
Stock market's crashing. I mean, anyway. Normalization is where I want to go. I want acceptance and normalization. I want research of the plant because they're still discovering new cannabinoids. I actually met a scientist last week, and he's doing things with the cannabinoids that are just right over my head. Not that it's that much, but I'm a 5'9", what can I tell you? That's just who I am.
No, but you're right with normalization. In fact,
Normalization.
I think Gary was at an event, and not to get too deep into it, but somebody, there was someone that walked up to him, and it was a grandfather and daughter.
Oh, yes.
And the daughter, who was under 21,
Oh gosh.
was listening
Well
to
under
this
21.
show,
Good.
and said, "Oh, this is the guy you listen to on the radio."
Yeah.
And
Good.
so
It was
it
pretty
was
cool,
I know it was a
actually.
neat moment for Gary just to have someone hear him on the radio, but the fact that this was a child, right, that heard it and kind
What
of
about the
normalized it.
kids?
Yeah,
The kids know more about it than the adults do. Certainly more than our elected officials do.
absolutely.
My kids know all about it. I
and
can
let me ask
speak
you-
firmly of it.
Let me ask you, Craig. You're a parent.
I am.
Toughest job we ever had. Right? I mean,
Amen. There you go.
Define the age of a kid.
Yeah.
because
good luck.
because it.
Yeah. You tell
I
me.
know some 40-year-olds, right? I mean, I
I
get
was
it.
going to say, I got a 14-year-old that you would have thought Steve hears around.
Yeah.
If I don't want to get into her, but you think she's 25 and already through business school and law. So yes, to your point, it's
Right.
Yeah.
So then they say, what about the kids? What about, it's got to be over 21 under, how many people are listening to your program that are under 21? I go, I don't know, but I would encourage it because we talk from an educational standpoint.
And
That's
if,
exactly
and if
right.
you go back and re-listen to all our episodes, well, most, we have some fun ones. We have staff come in. We do have a good time, but we've had folks like yourself, first class knowledge, that have come in and broke down the plant. And we had the young lady from Jeter's, and I don't want to give her story to entail because she can only truly tell it, but she had some serious medical cancer issues, and she sat right in your seat about a month ago and literally told us a story where the doctor basically said, look, our medicine's only making you sick. You don't want to take it. Do you have anything in the car that'll get you through these treatments? Go do it. She went out, did her thing, came in, got through. I mean, these are the people giving true, personal, heroic stories of what this plan is.
I hate to jump in, but we actually had to take our first break, believe it or not.
Nope. This is where we're just going.
Cannabis 101 on UTY Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
No, we've had. Hi, welcome back to Cannabis 101 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, presented by Cannabis of Worcester, located at 56 Millbrook Street, Worcester, Mass. I'm Gary.
I'm Steve. I'm not even looking at you coming in this one because I don't want to distract you.
And today we're joined by just a superhero in the cannabis industry, a podcast legend right now. The one, right? Come on. We got Jimmy Young. How do you want? I don't want to make sure I always want to make sure I get everyone's name right so everyone can follow him.
Jimmy Young is my on-camera name.
Jimmy Young on camera.
Name, okay.
Yep.
But I will tell you, my oldest friends, like 30, 40, 50-year friends,
Yes.
James A.
James A. All right.
So,
but
and
Jimmy
Steve, you
Young.
qualify on the age part.
I do, but I also qualify back in the day that I always knew you as Jimmy Young. That was your sign up when you did the sportscast. It was Jimmy Young.
Well, and
so I can't call you anything else.
What you
That's
don't
just,
know is I started my career at WBZ TV Channel 4
Okay.
as a
WBZ.
sports producer. And Jimmy Myers was my first mentor. And that's who I was producing sports for, the Weekend Guy. He was the first African-American sportscaster in Boston in the
Okay.
70s, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. This was 1977. I'm dating myself, but I already told you I'm 67 years old. All right. On Tuesday, deal with it. Just deal with it. It sucks getting old, though. I got to tell you. And I was Bob Lobel the first 6 years I was on camera because I emulated somebody I respected.
Yeah.
And then I developed my own style, which was fun unto itself. But it took me quite a while. And I learned quite a bit about how to train people to get comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
And not mimic or imitate somebody. And look, now I teach it. Now I'm being set up perfectly to bring the whole thing roundabouts and bringing it into the cannabis space, because my vision is fulfilled every week now when I produce a television news show for the nation. I have 16 correspondents from coast to coast that call in a 2-minute report. I put it together on Sunday night into Sunday morning. And Elena Pinto from Boston Channel 7 is my anchor for my news. So Elena and I are the only two professionals, if you will, on the staff. And I train all the amateurs because I love teaching people. I was a coach. I was a soccer coach for 35 years. So I love teaching people. And I see the progress every week. So my vision was to build an army of multimedia journalists and podcast hosts who are documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition in our time. And I really do believe we fulfill that every single week with our new show that gets thousands of views every week.
So
now.
where can we find that?
Exactly.
Where?
Thank you. Yeah.
So the website
Yeah.
is procannabismedia.com.
Procannabismedia.com.
The YouTube channel is procannabismedia.com.
Okay.
The LinkedIn page is procannabismedia.com. But the new app that we are launching
That's what we want
right now, baby, is PCM space TV. PCM space TV.
Okay.
And it's free. And if you download it right now, you'll get a $500 hotel gift certificate to major hotel chains. You have to register, but once you do that, you get your coupon and you have it one look, I'll do it real quick. Here's the app, one touch. Of course, I pop up. There's the news right there.
And so you do that live, you said, every Sunday, or you record it on?
So interesting you mentioned live. You're pretty good, man. So
Elena Pinto.
I agree. Elena Pinto, she's very talented.
Yeah, no, I know. I wanted Steve. We'd like to put a face with.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Oh, I have seen her.
Just to show who he is.
Just so you know,
yes,
we're all guys here. Okay, I can say this, and it's not going to come out creepy. She's in the early 30s, and which my son is 33, so young enough to be my daughter, right? But I get her 30 minutes a week, and she reads my scripts. I write the scripts for her. It takes me a few hours. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I take it seriously, for crying out loud. I'm a pro, and she's unbelievable. She reads it cold, which is not an easy thing to do.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. And I don't recommend that, by the way, in my training. I actually say practice aloud. When people have to speak at a funeral, it's the toughest freaking thing any of us ever have to do. Right. We all, whether it's a loved one, friend, whatever. And I say, practice it aloud 200, 300 times. Okay, 20 times.
Yeah.
The more times you do it, the easier it's going to be to deliver what you really want to say, because it becomes rote, becomes routine, which is what I work on with my reporters is here's the open, here's the close. You know, I'm Jimmy Young, founder of Pro Cannabis Media, reporting for Weed Talk News. You know, now granted, they don't all say I'm Jimmy Young. They all say their own names, but, and their own brand, you know, and I got to tell you, I mean, it started with, I think we were doing about 7 minutes back in 2020, 2019, in that era, right? And then the pandemic hit. Everybody went home and learned how to use Zoom. Well, I went to my office every day and started using Zoom as a news gathering tool and a content creative device. And 1,000 videos later, 1.2 million views of our work over 3 years on our YouTube channel.
Huge.
Right? Well, it's a nice number, and I wanted to get to the $1 million mark just for that reason.
Yeah.
but I still haven't made a dime. But that's going to change. We are poised now. The app is great because you guys know we talked about this. It's about data collection.
Yeah.
Every time you go to a media site now, you get the pop-ups.
Yep.
Sign up, $1 a month. New York Times, $1 a month
Oh, I
subscription.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, not like the New York Times isn't making money. They certainly are.
Right.
But they're not making as much money as they used to make.
Correct.
And their readership isn't as big as it used to be because we've got niche casting, and the consumer's in charge of their use of media now. They get to create their own, and really the biggest issue is they get to listen to whatever supports their already existing opinion.
Correct. They don't have to. Exactly.
There's no standards and practices, and Walter Cronkite, may he rest in peace, is no longer with us. But that was the whole point of the FCC. Why in the world would the FCC still have to give out licenses to the over-the-air channels like radio and television when nobody's getting that information over the air anymore? I teach at the college level. For one of the first questions I ask is, does anybody have a transistor radio? And they go, what are you talking about? Right?
Yeah.
No. I said, well, it might be a good thing for you guys to buy, because if aliens ever do attack us, they're going to take out our communication and our electric grid.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to get information, and it's available for free over the air.
Right. Which is not a form of media to a lot of people
No,
anymore.
not even. No.
Yeah.
Again, we have lost our way. Congress did a great job of protecting the social media companies and allowing them to self-police themselves.
Mhm.
And that hasn't worked out so well. Let's just say, are they in front of the Congress again this week? I mean, it's like every week another person.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right?
see it. Zuckerberg
Sure.
was there
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so these are our elected officials. And by the way, it's another reason why I don't want legalization. You guys know why I don't want legalization? Because it involves lawyers and
I
politicians.
was just going to say, then they get to get their
And I'm
greasy
sorry.
mitts on it.
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Their motivation is not what I think this country needs, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't. But
But it's tough. It's one of those situations where the actual motivation is not going to drive this business anymore. If the actual motivation was for the science, for the healing, for the medicinal purposes, so on and so forth, it would already be an agenda item for everyone. But it's not.
no, because of reefer madness, because of the depth of racism in this country, and the fact that we filled our jails with people of color, because it was a great way for the law enforcement to reach their quotas for those privately run prison system that we have.
Yeah.
And it guys, that is a fact. That's not my opinion. Look it up. 4 times more Black people are arrested for possessing cannabis
Yep.
than white people. Okay. And both races use it the same amount.
Sure.
So there's something wrong with that fact, right?
Right.
And I don't like it when I see injustice.
Well, and I think there's, a lot of what you hear is there's supposed to be a self-correction's the wrong word, but a lot of the legalization is trying to push for correction. And I don't know that there is a way to correct the wrongs of the past.
From the past. Well, I think creating a overall single regulatory agency for the plant, cannabis sativa, which means they control the hemp side and the cannabis THC side. And I know that there's 0.3%. Okay. I'm not that much of an idiot. It's the biggest joke. By the way, it's the biggest joke in the industry, because guess what? Humans. Do you guys remember Barry Bonds?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do we remember? him?
You remember the
Legend.
testers are all, the cheaters are always ahead of the testers.
Yep.
What do you think happened in the last few years? Humans figured out a way. We're going to be able to figure out a way to get high off that Delta 8 stuff. 0.3%.
Yeah.
Wait till we fire it up. THCA was born. So again, human behavior.
Yeah.
And look at the size of the hemp market in 3 years. Well, 2018, 6 years. So 2018.
Yep.
December 2018. Wow. So I mean, look, I've been part of history. I was a history major at Tufts. I thought I'd be a social studies teacher and a soccer coach for my life. I would have probably enjoyed my life as much, but I wouldn't have as many stories.
Oh, wait.
I have some great stories.
We're going to tee up a couple of his stories when we get back, but we got to take a break. You listen to Cannabis 101 on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hi, welcome back to Cannabis 101 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, presented by Cannabis of Worcester, 56 Millbrook Street, Worcester, Mass. I'm Gary.
I'm Steve.
And we have viewers, guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
buddy.
I have got my little text from my partner out in
Here we
Arizona.
go. Here we
Hey,
go.
this is
Hey, we
We
the
are
one
live and
Jimmy
making
we're
Young.
it
live in
happen.
Arizona.
I wore the right shirt. It's a
You do. It
colorful
looks good. I
shirt.
like
Thank
that
you very
color.
much.
Looks good.
Milton's Dana Katz.
I
He's
know.
a friend.
Oh my God,
Milton's.
Milton. I haven't heard that.
Name
that
in a
name
while.
in-
Oh,
yeah.
guys, I grew up in Newton
Okay.
and lived
that
in
makes
Needham
sense.
for 15 years.
Yeah.
Went to Tufts University. I never really left the area except for 11
Right.
years in
In
Portland, Maine.
Exactly.
And I still got to cover the Red Sox and the Bruins and
Right.
the Celtics and the
Because
Patriots.
that was really the only thing going up in Maine for sports, other than some
well,
high school
yeah,
sports.
Maine,
the
now,
Maine
hang on,
Mariners,
hang on a
the
second.
Maine Guides baseball team
Right,
that played in
Jordan
Orchard
Kovacs,
Beach.
my
yeah.
tennis partner, Jordan Kovacs.
Okay.
Yeah, weird. And think about the sports writers that were in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
And broadcasters, people like Dale Arnold,
Oh, sure. Oh,
Right?
there's a lot of
Wow.
people that
Right?
moved.
people like
South.
Steve Buckley.
Yep.
Steve Buckley.
Oh, really?
They all
got
their
All
startups.
the
Absolutely.
guys,
Yeah.
wow.
Jerry Krasnick, who's a MLB writer now, I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah.
Those were the three biggies that left. And Gary Tangway's from Maine.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gary Tanway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I helped him out get his job in Boston, his first job in Boston. He was
Yeah, I
working
a
in
little
Worcester.
shocked when they
Yeah.
booted him off the island on. But I know it happens. I know it happens.
You know what?
but
There's an awful lot of ego in
Yeah.
television and radio, guys.
I actually liked.
can
I used
imagine.
to watch the Sunday night. All the
I like Gary
everyone
too.
had a different show, but yeah, Gary Tanway was good. I liked him. I thought he was good.
He had a great voice.
Yeah,
He
that's exactly what I'm
had a
saying. He was
great
very
voice.
distinct when he spoke. Apps correct. 100%
Before we
correct.
tee this guy up again
Yeah.
for a story, let's get a couple of plugs in. So let's plug
I
ourselves
appreciate
first.
Plug
So
yourself.
we'll
will
plug
you?
ourselves and then we'll
hours,
let Jimmy
yeah.
do a plug. So we're Cannabis of Worcester, 56 Millbrook Street in the great city of Worcester. We're open 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, Sundays 10 to 11. Cannabisofworcester.com. You can do a pre-order there. You can check out all our pricing, promotions, things like that we can't talk about on the air. And go check us out. If you haven't been there before, make sure you go check it out.
So before I give a shameless plug for the product
Yes,
I
yes,
represent, is that not allowed? Can I talk about a new product?
can
that
talk
might be
about it,
coming in?
yeah.
Any product specific, you can
Correct.
affect
Okay,
smoke. It's
so-
just pricing. They're big on pricing.
I was a guinea pig for a product 3 or 4 years ago, and I tried it, and I said, "Wow, this is pretty cool." It was a sublingual measured microdose delivered 2 milligrams at the time. It was 5 THC under your tongue, fast acting, long lasting, and it's like a hash high. And if anybody is a real regular user, there's a big difference between a hash high and a flower high.
Oh,
Right? There just is. And I've always preferred that cerebral kind of spacey, like, whoa, I'm still high. Kind of because I can get work done. I can focus better. I can do things under the influence of
Yeah.
and not feel like I'm putting anybody in danger. Okay. And at the time I was doing my job. We talked about that.
Yeah.
But Yellow Labs, it's coming to Massachusetts. It's now being manufactured at ACS, Alternate Compassion Services out of West Bridgewater, which is run by
Sure.
a childhood friend of mine named Stephen Werther. And that's coming to the market. I mean, you guys know I came on a sales call to hang out at the dispensary. And next thing I know is like, what do you mean you remember
Well, it's
me
funny
from
you just
Maine?
brought that up because we didn't even talk about that while you're there, but they have the place in Hull as well.
Correct.
Right.
They-
Yeah.
so-
So
so
I
they
I
have-
live in Hull, so I live and I met
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
before
Do you know
at an
T
event.
Street? You know T Street?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that's where my 50th birthday was. Okay. Almost to the day. Let's just say we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get into that personal thing, but let's just say I had a lot of history on T Street with
Okay.
a great family that still owns that house.
Okay.
That's been in their family, I think, since the 30s.
Well, when you come to Hull, you'll have to
Yeah.
look me up and we'll visit.
Oh, 100%. I have another dear friend from Newton who has been down there, Deborah Monis.
But anyway, so ACS is out of West
Yes.
Bridgewater, and they
And
have
they-
a
those are
medical
the two-
facility in Hull, and I think they're
dual.
going rec. Yeah.
No, they have it.
It's
They
open.
have it.
Okay.
Trust me, I was part of that. I was helping Stephen. That was one of the toughest things I've ever had to deal with is go into that parking lot with the moms that were anti-weed.
Mhm.
And they were pissed. And then a guy came to their defense. He wanted to beat the you know what out of me.
He caught himself that time.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And anyway, so it's been a crazy ride. My life has been just amazing. we're telling some stories that I will not share. Okay. But the 80s were great because I was a big fish in a little pond in Portland, Maine.
Yep.
And it was surrounded by really good people. I loved the coaches. I loved the sports coaches. The late Mike Landry from Biddeford High School.
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke at that banquet at Biddeford High School 3 or 4 times in that 11 years I was up there. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. And, it's always been my second home.
When you got,
and if you know your history, do you know your history?
I hope so.
Maine started as part of Massachusetts.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure because they're the only other ones that have the Patriots Day celebration.
Yeah.
And it's the Boys Club 5 miler.
Yeah, exactly.
That Kenny Flanders won a million times.
How
about
Joan Benoit Samuelson?
Oh my God, I love Joni.
Runner from the Freeport, Maine, I believe.
And held the Olympic marathon record for a number of Olympics because it was a very good time when she ran it.
We were actually talking about a boxer from Maine. I don't know if you remember the name Joey Gamache. Does that ring a bell?
He was a lightweight, and he did win a world title.
Yeah,
and he was the first feature story that I ever did as a professional sportscaster. And we will be showing that on a live stream, cut in remote talk show, whatever the heck we call this now, at the THC Open, the golf tournament that's up in Oxbridge on Tuesday, the 3rd.
Blissful Meadows, right?
Blissful Meadows. I was there yesterday. We did a test, a site test, and it works. And we're going to be there live from 3:50 to 5.
What day is that? What is that?
Tuesday. Coming Tuesday.
Your birthday?
Yeah, it would be my birthday. That's why I suggested,
yeah.
why don't we just do it live from there? We're going to make all these announcements about the app and the name of the news show that I've been doing, which has been called Weed Talk News for at least since 2020, is now changing its name to Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Elena Pinto because it describes exactly what we do.
Yeah.
We connect the coast through cannabis and we give you news, and we give it with a really talented anchor, Elena Pinto.
So explain that relationship. How did that,
she's a friend.
Yes, not a relationship. Yeah.
Don't be spreading rumors on you.
On the air too,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Not everywhere.
No.
At least I do it to your face.
Right, I
I'm not doing it
appreciate
behind your back.
So Elena is a brand now. She was fired from Channel 7 in Boston. This is her Q factor. This is how most people know who she is and recognize her name, if not her image. She appeared in an Adam Sandler movie as an unidentified extra and got fired by her bosses at Channel 7 because she didn't ask for permission to do it. Wow. And that's another reason why I'm not in management or back in professional broadcasting. Now, if somebody offered me a job, and to pay me to show up, I'm a pro. I'll show up and collect money.
Right.
But I mean, guys, I do this because I care. And I feel like everyone who has a microphone and has an audience of the public have an obligation to share your information and your education with the audience that's listening to you. You're providing a service for them because they don't know enough about the plant, certainly, that you guys do. And now you're in the business. You have experience. I was asking you this before you came on. The stories you hear about the people that open up dispensaries and what you have to go through at the town level and the city level and the regulations and the rules. And I really believe that the government, and I'm taking them from the feds right down to the towns here, peeps, okay, is doing whatever they can to make it as difficult as possible for this industry to survive. And like everything, they want a piece of hang on. And you're not disagreeing with me. You're not fighting me on this one. And there's a big enough pie for everybody. But because of greed, because of no intelligence at the levels where we elect officials. I mean, I'm sorry. I cared about what I put in my body in 2013 when I got my medical my medical card. So I spent hours online learning. When we went in there, it was like, what the hell's flour?
Right.
I have a problem.
Right?
I call it bud, and they're all like, it's flour.
Right. So there was a lot of learning that had to be done.
I'm still out of it.
Oh my God, there's still this. And you guys know Beth Waterfall by any chance?
No.
She's been an activist in this town for years, and she had a great quote. I interviewed her back in 2020. She said, "There are no experts in cannabis."
That's a fact.
Yeah,
there aren't, because that's been around. We haven't known this much about it for 80 years.
Right.
And now we do. And I used green flower online as a tool, teaching tool. I watched a ton of videos produced by the founder there, is a guy named Max Simon. And I started my podcast in April of 2018. And anybody who's in the cannabis space might remember April 2018 when YouTube purged their entire site of any mention of cannabis on it because the Cole memo was rescinded under Jeff Sessions. And that was the one that basically said the feds will stay out of the state's legal hairs. And let's not get into politics, okay? But the bottom line is that scared the banks, that scared the social media platforms, and that created censorship. And again, it's unfair.
Yeah.
If we're going to have a free society and we're going to protect people, and you're giving them the keys to the asylum anyway, you're letting them create content and put it up on the internet, without a license, which every other commercial radio and television station in America has had to do for 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very similar argument to whole like taxi cabs, Ubers. Like, oh, you make these guys go through a licensing process, but then I can go to Uber and use my car to drive people, but you're making these people pay for that license. So it's very, very similar with the media. You've created these media outlets where anybody can be a media superstar.
They're all
Whether it's
content
TikTok
creators.
Yes,
That's
content
right.
creators
Yeah.
nowadays.
Content creators.
Speaking of content creators, we're going to take our last break because believe it or not, we're up against it. So you listen to Cannabis 101 on UTY Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Hi, welcome back to Cannabis 101.
Let's go 4 more hours, guys. Come on.
97.9 FM Unity Radio. Cannabis of Worcester presents Cannabis 101
with our new friend Jimmy Young.
Jimmy Young, going to be our new reoccurring guest.
Ah, reoccurring. I love that.
Jimmy, you
Yeah,
got to step up to the plate because we've had some guests in 3 or 4. I think 4. Knack might be the.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a
the
record
record
holder. He's
holder,
probably
so-
done 5 or 6 times.
So you got some
maybe at
work
this
to do,
point.
Jimmy.
All right, so there's a